Let's talk about knife skills. I started letting our daughter use knives when she was only 2 years old. This is a skill that I wanted her to learn early because it was something that I was fearful of for quite a long time when I was growing up. So I wanted her to have an advantage in that area. It's such a valuable skill for so many reasons, not just the practice of preparing food. It teaches kids responsibility, respect for certain tools, patience, hand eye coordination, the ability to grade movements and force, so many different things. So, I wanted to talk about some ways to grade tasks with knife skills. So, at a basic level, just start by introducing the knife and talk to the kid about how it works. It really helps when a child has actually seen you use a knife before, but at this point, it's not completely necessary. And then obviously, you want to talk through some knife safety. So, how to properly hold the knife, protecting your fingers and protecting surfaces and other things and people around you when you're using the knife. At this basic level, I really want to make sure to use clear, concise, calm language when I'm helping a kid work with a knife. So the kid needs to be able to stop in an instant. So any kind of wordy or loud or stressful commands coming from you are not helpful. So, some phrases that I like to use when working with kids with knives is freeze or wait or press. Those are my go tos, and they're a one syllable word that I can say in a really calm, neutral tone. At this level, I'm going to use some hand over hand to just cut some simple produce with them. So I start off with a true hand over hand. My hand is on the child's hand, and I actually gradually work from holding the child's hand to going up the wrist and the arm. This still offers that tactile or physical support while you're working through these movements, but it doesn't offer the maximum support like if you're holding hand over hand. Eventually, I'm wanting to work towards being on standby. So, being close enough to intervene if necessary, but not physically supporting during the skill. Then we work towards an intermediate level. So, this is a level where I'm reviewing knife safety and I have the child verbalize their understanding for knife safety and knife skills. So, this is a great opportunity for the kid to explain safety tips to me so that I can gauge their level of understanding. And then I let them have some independence so they can use a knife on some softer foods. So my daughter started off with some soft cheeses like mozzarella or cutting olives or cutting mushrooms, things that don't have as much resistance when you're cutting. And I'm allowing the kid do this while I'm supervising. And then gradually we work up towards harder foods like celery or carrots or potatoes. I'm also grading the task with what knife to use depending on a couple things. So, what size is the kid's hand? And what skill level does the kid have? Is the kid pretty experienced? So, am I going to be able to trust him or her with a chef's knife? Or is it best to stick with a paring knife because her hands are smaller? Then we move on to an advanced skill level. So, this is where I'm letting the kid cut a variety of produce or meats or whatever it is independently. So, starting off with supervision, being close enough to just keep an eye on things, but still giving them space to work freely. And then I'm gradually giving them more and more space. So, if I'm watching the child cut a variety of things. And then I work towards, okay, I'm cooking at the stove while they're to my side, cutting a variety of things. And then, oh, I need to go check on the baby who is in the next room while they're still independently working. Another idea is having the kid teach knife safety and knife skills to someone else. So, this is not only reinforcing the kid's understanding of what they're doing, but also when they're teaching someone else that skill, they're able to understand it in a deeper way. And then finally, you can teach them how to sharpen knives. And I really look forward to the day that my kids can sharpen my knives because I actually hate that job. My husband does it for us. But I feel like that skill takes knife skills to a whole other level when you're not only able to use the tools effectively when you're preparing meals, but then you're also able to care for the tools efficiently too. And you're then working with really sharp knives if you do it well. And that takes a deeper respect and level of safety. When considering an observation level for a kid, you could let them use a butter knife or even one of those specialty child safe knives to cut produce. Or my favorite option is letting them cut Play Doh. When it comes to knife skills in our house for our kids, I honestly just skipped straight to using real knives. We have a set of child safe knives for our kids, and we use them briefly with our oldest child, but I wanted to start them off early using real knives for a few reasons. When using a real knife, there is a stronger respect for the tool. And I didn't want them to get too used to using a plastic serrated knife because they would become too comfortable with that. And then it would be harder to transfer the appropriate safety skills to using a real knife. I also have found that it's harder to cut with the child safe knives, which I don't think is any safer. But, you know, each kid is different, each family is different. So they still have their place if they're used correctly. But if you're not a fan of the plastic child safe knives or the idea of using real knives with your kids, a rocking knife is actually a great option, and we have one of those too. So, these are just some ideas for grading tasks with knife skills. I'm sure you can come up with some yourself. A call to action for the week: let your kid practice some knife skills this week while you are meal prepping. For more ideas on letting your kids help with practical, functional skills, please hit subscribe and give a like to this video so that you can get the latest from this channel. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I will see you next time on Old Path, New Walk.